All right, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Night Live Lighting Critique here at the Academy of Animated Art. So I've got it all fired up here on Facebook. We are fired up on Zoom. Let's see, let's give a second for people to roll in before we get started here. Let me go ahead and, I always forget to do this, so I'm gonna do it now, changing my name. There we go. So here's the basic setup. Hey, Kleber, how's it going? Kleber's already got the gist. So we are, like I said, live on Zoom. You can find the link in the Facebook group. Also live on Facebook, we've got some viewers over there. So I'm going to go through these critiques. I'm not going to go through them in alphabetical order. Sorry, all the people whose last names started earlier this time. We will go through a few things. And we're going to go through all the images that were created. If you have questions, if you have comments, add them to the comments either on Facebook or Zoom or whatever platform you're watching this on. And then the big announcement today is, let's see, it's May 29th. That means that Monday is the deadline, or no, actually it's Sunday night at midnight is the deadline for the lighting challenge that we've had going on for the last 2 months, the Sci-Fi City. So get your submissions in. Remember to include your reference images. Some of you worked so hard and have some incredible images. So I'm really excited to see these final submissions. We will announce the winner on Monday, and we will continue on from there. Also Monday, we're gonna be doing a series, another Let's Light. So I've got some ideas that I'm brainstorming and I wanna play around with this weekend, but let me know if there's anything specific that you all wanna learn. But in the meantime, let's get rolling here. Okay, let me share my screen and we will get started. Let's see. Share my desktop. Okay, so I'm going to hide my camera so you can see the whole screen because you guys don't need to see my face. All right. Sure we're all good. If there are any audio issues, let me know. My microphone's been a little buggy lately, so please just let me know there. All right. So we've got Kleber and we've got Mara online. So we'll go ahead and get started with you guys. All right, Kleber, this is coming along really, really nicely, right? So you've added some more foreground fog as to Francesco's note. I really like that. I think it might just be, let me, you guys probably won't even be able to see this. Let me brighten this up. Yeah, let's get just a little bit more shaping in there. I really, really like the darkness in there, but it's just flattening out a little bit. And I think we can go a little bit darker as we come back this way. I think right along this foreground here can go a little bit darker to really frame in these elements here. I would try and get this light to just get some more rim right there on the side of her face. And then the big one, the back of her neck here, just go and copy this. Let's expose that down. So, because I want that to be more, I want it to be darker overall. Like this might be extreme, but just to kind of give an example, like it's just kind of glowing up for me. That erase got too big. It's just glowing up a little bit too much for me. And I would really like it to kind of set back in just a little bit to create a little bit more shaping on the back of her head there. And just allow that neck to set in. Cause I want to see her face and I want to see her hair. I don't really want to see the back of her neck. So really kind of let that fall into some shadow the same way that you're getting it down her back here. The other big thing that I would point out, so this light over here, the reason why I really like this one, you've got the flare, you've got this, oh, let's see if that's matching up. I just noticed that. Yeah, that's matching up a little bit down below. I'm still getting a weird highlight there. I'm not quite sure because it's from this one. Right, so that's there. Yeah, okay, never mind. That one's coming from this one. So what I really like is the blurred edge on this, and you can still see the outline of the light. We're getting a little flare. We're getting variations in color. That's nice. We're getting variations in colors here, but I'm not quite getting that blowout right here on the edge. So really try and hit that. Other than that, the other thing that I would do is you're getting a lot of fog in the background, and that's really great. Just if you can, you're getting a little bit of it, but let's saturate up these values around these neon signs. Like allow those signs to influence the fog around them a little bit more, and then I think you'll be in a good spot. But overall, again, this is looking really great. You've come a long way with this one. I know you've worked really hard. Oh, last thing, just noticing this too, these like little buttons on her shoe. If they're a story point, let's see what they are. They might be cool. Never mind. I was gonna say tone those down, but they're kind of cool. They might be, normally it's hard to tell on a single shot like this, but normally you want to tone that stuff down. So again, focusing on the face and that kind of thing. But it might be like a telltale sign of her outfit, so, or her super suit. So if that's the case, then I would just leave those in place there. But yeah, okay, cool. So if you have questions, let me know. Now Mara was online. Okay, so we've got a couple images from you. Where'd they go? Oh, they're mixed up a little bit. So we've got, okay, let's start with these two, and then we'll go to the next one. Okay, so you were talking about wanting to break out the shadow pass separately, and I don't think that's absolutely necessary. The biggest thing that you want to do is you want to add some extra geometry as a ceiling and as a wall, like off camera over here, because what's happening is that you probably, and like I'm totally guessing, I don't know what your setup is. It looks like there's a light source outside this door, and then you probably have a skylight overall, and then a little bit of a rim light here. And that's all well and good, but what we're missing is the ceiling and a wall back behind him here, because that will block out, basically that'll block out the skylight a little bit, obviously some more, and allow you to get some of these dark shapes in there. Ooh, weird. The thing about this one is that without those pieces of geometry blocking the light, the skylight's just going to kind of go everywhere, and it won't fully block out those shadows. Okay, a few other areas of reference that you want to kind of point out. So we're getting some fall off coming across here. We're getting the light coming out of the door. We're getting the edge of this door getting darker, allowing the light is creeping up under the door, then coming up underneath him here, getting some light to dark fall off as we go across here. It's sneaking into the room a little bit and hitting this guy, hitting some of these other elements here. So let's see how that's translating. Okay, so light coming in from the outside here, sneaking up under, hitting here. We probably wanted to creep just a little bit in this space too. But the biggest difference I'm seeing about this is the color of the light is very different. Like this one has a lot more green to it. So let's just go ahead and if I just take out, like just looking at this yellow light out there, I think that this roughly falls in a line a little bit better with the, actually that's a little more orangey, isn't it? So make it brighter for one. Like this versus this. It's kind of more where you want to be on those that yellow standpoint. And then in terms of the rim going on back behind him there, let's soften that up. We don't want that to be quite so strong. And this, you want to, again, this will come with as you're adding some more geo, but you really want to darken up that edge because right now those values are very, very similar. And then like the back of the wall is the same as this side. So just some things to point out there. Really, yeah, don't feel free to keep pushing that light. Like look how bright this is getting. Like if I look at the levels here, you'll see that there's probably a little bit on the highs and then there's a lot down here in the bottoms. In yours, let's go back to the original. Like we're not getting the super darks, and we're probably looking at right about there. Don't worry about the saturation, but just like the value of that is about what we want. So that's pretty much where you want to go with that. And then if you want to like get bonus points by just swapping out this material and just getting some more specularity in it, that kind of thing, you can go for that too. There are no rules, we go crazy. All right, so your other one, all right, so we've got the Saturday Night Fever reference. These. Just so we can keep track of where we are. So we got the Saturday Night Fever reference with this one. So let's take a look at this reference. Let's see what we got going on. So we've got lots of star flares going on back here. We've got these dark values in these characters standing out from this haze in the background. We got a lot of haze around the top. We have yellow light washing in. We've got red light washing in. And then on the character itself, it's all like his key lights on his face, and then just kind of like a purplish light over top of him there. If we want to go after these floor tiles, you see a bright bulb here in the center, and it kind of fades off as it gets to the other parts of the square. And then, yeah, just a haze, a lot of very colorful, very, very kind of energetic shot. So with this one here, we are missing some of that kind of pure color. Usually we see things not going saturated or going too saturated. You're not quite going saturated enough. So let's see if we just like just in the reds, if we saturate that up a little bit, we can get some more punchiness. And then you're getting the fade of the lights and getting that kind of haloing of the lights, but we want to pick up some of these sharp shapes too. We don't need to go quite specific enough with these star filters, but something along those lines would be good. And then on the characters themselves, they are getting a little bit overly lit overall. So we want to keep their central core color down, but then just kind of like hit them with some rims to accentuate like some color around their edges. We don't really want to super brighten their middle core value. Like this dog is getting super red throughout. And then in terms of this guy back here, you want him to kind of match up to what we're seeing back here, a little bit darker elements that's creating almost like a silhouette to separate it out from the background. But good start overall, a good look at some things. Let's look at this disco ball. So seeing that, I think you can go a little bit brighter on some of those brights and allow those to kind of sparkle as well. Yeah, that's main elements on that one, but you've got a good start there as well. So, check the comments here. Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, my pleasure, guys. No, not a problem. Hey, Stefan. Hey, Dana. Hey, Adrian. It's good to see you guys over there on Facebook. Okay, so we've got Stefan, Dana, and Adrian. Okay, so let's go to Stefan next. Wait, if that's the order, unless it's reverse order. It's so hard to tell. Okay, Stefan. Sorry, not Stefan. Stefan. Beautiful image. So I'm gonna give you some nitpicky notes because that's what I do. But overall, I just want to say this passes. I always talk about this. There's like two levels of looking at a shot. One is that first instinctual guttural level of just like, how do I feel about it? Like turning off my lighter's hat and just putting on my human being hat and just being like, does this feel real? And I'm like, yeah, it totally does. And so it first passes that test. It's only in that like the second where I start like digging through the image, and there's some terms for that are not appropriate to say, but yeah. So I think overall it passes that initial test. The next step up, and a lot of this is just like plussing elements to it, right? This is like taking, because what you have is photoreal, and and that's what you're intended to do. But it's just a matter of like, there's photoreal and then there's photoreal plus artistically crafted images that can be pushed a little bit more. And generally where we want to, by the way, if you ever hear that, this is me just taking a drink to protect my voice for the next 45 minutes or so. So the areas that I think that you can improve upon this, and this is personal preference, is I'm looking at the image as a whole, and I just want to see some more red elements in it. So it's this style of lighting. It's this kind of overcast just after the rain. You really start to feel a little bit more red elements in there, and it's not much. It's a little bit subtle, but you kind of start to get, let me push that. I can show you this. So like this, right? Just some like to kind of match up with like the more magenta tones in the clouds. I would just push that a little bit more, just because it adds a little bit more variation, and it makes it all just like a little bit warmer, a little bit glowier, a little bit more magical. These yellow bins, I think, can come down in value a little bit. They're also very like even and consistent around the frame. Like if I just kind of like pick them up like boom, 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 boom. So I would maybe vary their overall value a little bit from like the left side, like maybe make these a little darker because they're more covered from the ambient light. And then there's some areas in the shot that are getting a little bit flat, like this wall up here, like this awning that exists. It would be nice to get a little bit more variation coming across there. It would be nice to get a little more specularity in her raincoat here. That is feeling, oh, that might actually be, that looks like an image that you're plopping in there. Yeah, even still, it's just like she looks a little bit ambiently lit as compared to the surroundings. Like we're getting so much good spec off of some of these areas that it would be nice to get some more spec on her as well. And then in terms of these headlights here, like these dark values, I could see from far away. And that was kind of throwing me off in the headlights. And then on the street lamp here, it'd be nice to get a little bit of a more of a bulb in the center as it fades off around the side. If you have some reference to prove me wrong, definitely feel free. Again, this is just my feeling when I look at it. And then I would take down these flares up top just because they're already over top of something bright. And in reality, I don't want to be looking up there too much. I kind of want my eye to kind of come in back down here. So I would tone that down a little bit. And then I would just add a slight vignette down here. And then maybe across here a little bit too. But overall, again, really, really, really beautiful stuff. And I think that you should be proud of this one because this is looking really great. All right. And next up we have Dana. You've got 3 images on here. So very similar to what we were seeing. Let me get this out of the way. So very similar to what we were seeing out of the other image. So it's kind of like that disco feel. I really like the patterny shapes that you're getting. They're not. I still feel like there are too many shapes as compared to what we're seeing on the sphere here. But they bother. But it's closer, right? So it's not gonna stand out quite so much. I think we can go with a little bit more haze back behind them here. I can get a little darker around the edges. But overall, I think this is working out really well for this asset. Like there's not a lot of complexity to the shaders. So we really can't push that too much. The one thing that's interesting to me is this little light there. Cause now that I look at it, I was expecting to see one of these magenta lights refracted in her glass head, but it's weird that we're seeing one of the warmer spotlights. So, you may just want to color correct that. Like if I just took this and threw this over this, and then just hue corrected that to match one of those, and then toned it down. So you don't have to go too nutty with that. Just something to kind of match up with those. Not because it's not photo accurate, because I'm guessing it's probably reflecting that, but it's just like you just kind of want to feel it in with those spaces. But yeah, other than that, just maybe a little more bounce here on the dog, but that's again getting kind of nitpicky territory. But overall, I think this one's in pretty good shape. Okay, now we got Mr. Bean. My first instinct when I looked at this was that he feels too green, like too green, too cool, like a little bit too off hero color, and it's just kind of sickly a little bit. So let's go ahead and take away some of the greens. We'll add some more reds in there too, just like in some yellows, just to like really kind of warm him up overall. Don't worry about the background. I'm really just kind of looking in at him. And then overall, he's looking a little bit on the dark side. So like, again, you look in here, we're missing some of the high ends in the range. So just pushing him up into there. Let's go ahead and soften some of his shadows. He's looking a little bit crisp in the shadows as well. But now we're getting into this range, and this is feeling a little bit better. So again, versus what we had before. And then his eyes are are kind of funny in these. So they get like these dark grays around the edges. So you really kind of want to, it's almost, let's see. Let's do it in the levels, that's fine. Brighten this, brighten that up. So if I kind of, like just looking at the eye whites, if I just kind of take let's just do that for right now. And then I can take this, swap it out, just kind of go around the edges, zero in on just the eye whites. And then, boom. And you can see, I mean, that's a little bit bugged out. So let's go ahead and fade that back in. And then his hair, is still looking a little matte and a little bit diffused. So I want to see if like we can, this isn't gonna work to just color correct it, but let's just for the heck of it, just because the sun's kind of, or the main light's kind of coming in from that screen right side. See if, yeah, see, like just brighten this up. It's kind of what happens when it gets too dark. Like there's no values in there to mess around with it. So just kind of mess around with that. The other big thing, and we were working on this before, was just softening these shadows, because again, the key light's still getting super crisp. And then we're seeing like some of these shapes and some of this down here. So just soften that up overall, because again, like when we were looking at some of the examples of studio lighting, you just kind of want that overall softening a little bit. Again, even if the character's feeling creepy, even if it's not quite right, you want just kind of those values kind of falling into place. So take this versus our original, and I can go ahead and, yeah, that's fine. But I think that the main thing is getting his skin tones kind of on point. That would be my next step, and then softening this and getting it to be a little bit brighter overall. Right. Close these. All right, now we got this city here. It's a big step from the last time, the adjustment that you made. If you're using reference, I'd love to see it, because I think that there are a few things that we could really do. My biggest one is that we really need to get some more bounce light up in here, because if the light is coming in and hitting that bright, like there would be a spot here, and like it would never quite get that dark in there, especially with this much sky around. Speaking of which, the sky it doesn't fully match the lighting on the scene, because this feels like some warm light coming in, where the sky feels a white balance to the warm light, so the rest of the sky is looking pretty blue. So I think that you can go with some, let's see if this will work. If we can get some more blue tones overall in the image. And if we just looked at let's tone the shadows. So if we just tone the shadows a little bit cooler overall, not crazy about that, but you can balance the shadows with the warm light and really kind of dial in this look a little bit more. But we really, really, really want to get some more bounce light up in here, because urban lighting, forest lighting with the sun shining down, it's all about hitting the ground surface and bouncing it, especially when the ground surface is like a white stone like this. And then same thing with softening a little bit of the shadows, just a touch, just to create some more softening across here. And then, yeah, just keep focusing the eye back to the center here. And we'll keep working with this one, because I think that once we get that into place, we'll want to dial in some more things. Like I really kind of want to take a look at the reflections in these windows. I think we can goose those up a little bit. And then, yeah, like maybe get some more variation down here in the ground. But again, this is a very, very complex set, and you're well on your way. But it's good. This one's going to take us a little while. This is a pretty big epic scene. Okay, so let me see if there's anybody else that's live online that has some submissions. If you do, don't be afraid to shout out. I thought she would not be so wet because of her umbrella. You know what? That's fair, Stefan. It just stood out to me as being as her just being like just feeling a little bit matte. But yeah. So cool stuff, Stefan. Saw your 80 LV article. Oh, go ahead and post that if you guys get a chance. I'd like to see that too. Just popping by to have a look. Didn't submit anything. No problem, Adrian. It's great to have you here. Barbara's here. Barbara, you have a submission I saw. Let's go ahead. Actually, you have multiple very beautiful submissions. So love this stuff. Like this is super pretty, super photoreal, definitely hitting the elements, all cool stuff. Let's get into it a little bit more with the details. Very similar to Stefan's, where you're on the right track. Gut instinct was like, wow, these look great. This looks like something out of Better Homes and Gardens. I've done interior design work and interior photography work, and you totally see stuff like this, where it's just like glowy and white and happy, and you've got the cleanest kitchen in the world and everything's great. A few things about this one. I would like to see a little bit more saturation in the shadows. They're kind of graying out a little bit, and based on what we're seeing here and just like the happiness of the scene, you just want to try infusing a little bit more color in there. These pellets of water are a great idea. They are, I would take them off the surface. Like I would take them off of this, because the way that I would think about it is you wash the piece of fruit and then you slice it. And very rarely do the pellets actually get onto the face of the fruit because you've already kind of cut that, especially because they look to be about the same, just to get some variation on there. So I would keep that around the outside here, like the drips. The cuts in the cutting board, it looks a little bit like a cat went rabbit on it, because usually in my times of working in a kitchen, you usually kind of see cuts like kind of in a similar direction, right? Because you're always kind of cutting the same way. So I would maybe adjust that bump map a little bit. And then also because of the feeling of the scene being a little bit idealized, I think that I would kind of maybe even decrease those overall, just because they're kind of adding a little bit of a grittier element than you're probably looking for in a feeling like this. And then I would maybe get a touch more contact shadow between that knife and the table, like something like we're seeing along here is nice, just to kind of ground it a little bit more. And then, yeah, it's pretty much it. This dark point on that little nubbin on the pear is getting a little dark. I like this value a lot better. And then something about this little dark point too, let's lift that, is kind of drawing my eye to that contrasty element. But overall, like I said, super nitpicky stuff. Really love what you're doing here, and would tell you to just keep it up. Same thing with the second image. Really great overall. Love these little stains in the table. Again, it's not like that. It's not quite like if you're going for like a perfect, serene, absolutely ideal, iconic scene, I would take those away. But maybe you're looking for a little more photorealism. So in this case, I like it. In terms of other stuff, there's really not a lot to critique here. I think the dark side of this coffee mug could probably go a little bit darker. That might be photoreal, but it just kind of feels like it's glowing, especially when the piece of paper is getting this dark. I would darken that down a little bit, and then like these bright points here on this are looking really good. But yeah, not a whole lot to critique. Maybe with this reflection in this, I almost want to add a couple more objects around it just to pick up some more reflections here in the top, just to create a little more shaping on that. And then, yeah, it's pretty much it. Maybe a little bit more lifted on these shadows. They're looking a little bit heavy. Just like a touch more fill light on those. But all in all, in a really good spot. So this one, and I think you said this by saying that you really like the close-up ones. Yeah, because this one isn't working as 100% well as the other ones. And I can tell you, there's a couple things. It's this like this region in here, this cabinetry. It's not getting the detail that we're seeing in the rest of the image. So there's just not a lot of bump or grit or not grit. That's not right. There's not like a lot of bump or texture. This feels pretty like a standard, like Maya surface shader. And the other thing is like the inside of this oven is getting too lifted. Like I know that there's this much light on it, but I would almost want to see this get darker. And it's because in this whole region, we're not getting a ton of dark values. Oh. And so if I were to take that down, I don't know why I drew such a sloppy thing. It's a square, for crying out loud. I could have just done this the whole time. All right. So if this was like a little bit darker, it's a little heavy, but like something like that, like these like introducing some of these darker elements into the scene will really help ground everything, because everything's feeling lifted, which is fine in the image with the pear because everything's white, but there are some dark elements in here, and it'd be nice to get some more contrast in there as well. One other thing you want to watch out for is, if I zoom in, I guess it's just the texture of the mitten now that I look at it. I thought when I first saw this, I thought that like there was something about the texture of this brick was of the subway tile was kind of overlaying on top of it. But I guess it's just feeling, maybe I would take that down a little bit. And then, yeah. The other thing too is like there's too much consistency going across the back here with the light value. I would really like to see more brightness here and just allow this area to kind of get darker, like allow some more fall off as it goes across. And I think that'll be a big help. This bag can probably, while you do that, that bag will come down naturally with that space. But overall, I think this one could use the most improvement of the three. But really, really great job, Barbara. This is really beautiful stuff. And thank you very much for sharing. Oh, no problem. Hey, Jonah. All right. Hi. Jonah, I think we have one for you. Yeah, Jonah Pine. Oh, there, yes. Love the concept art. I haven't seen this artist's work before. I love the idea of what you were talking about of like, and I totally get it. You're like, you know what? I'm just using this as a base overall reference. I'm not trying to match it pixel to pixel. Totally cool. So let's like, I usually just say like, let's talk about what we're feeling here. So the biggest thing is the contrast between the sky and the clouds. You got that warm versus cool. You're seeing that warm versus cool exist on the character himself. He's got some good grit and texture to him. Same thing with the bench, same thing with the rope. The clouds have some just really soft variation on there. Skies are really pretty blue color. We've got like a lot of variation going across, even coming across this rope, like looking straight up at it, you can see that we're going from light to dark values in there. So let's see. So you've got the eye for this. And I love seeing this because even though I think you've gone too dark in the rope, I think that you can definitely not quite go that far in the contrast of that transition. I love that you're seeing it, right? Like, cause that means your eye's in the right place, your head's in the right place. We're seeing this warm versus cool fall off on the character himself. You're getting these kind of like super dark eyes. There's something about, there's something about these overall that feel a little bit too dark. And this is the one thing, yeah, I would kind of do, actually, let me do that in just a second. Because I do want to mention the clouds. I think we can get more saturation overall in the clouds, especially in the blues. I think we can go like push that blue to warm fall off in the clouds. And I think that the background as a whole can get a little bit more saturated. Now, the one thing that I would do, because yours it's feeling a little bit different. And again, totally fine. I just think we can add some glow and some softening to it overall. I went ahead and copied and pasted the whole thing. If you've watched these a lot, you're probably sick of me doing this. Gaussian blur, screen over top, bring this down. And now we can start to see just like a little bit more overall softness to it and just kind of some glows. And you can isolate that to the warm values, or the brighter values. But I think overall you can add a little bit of touch, a little bit of glow to that. Yeah, but the biggest thing would just be get some more cool values here in these clouds, because I think those are looking really cool. I love how this thing just like feels like a miniature set, and I'm not quite sure. I guess it's because the clouds look like they're made out of cotton balls, and the little guy looks like he's only 3 inches tall. You've got some pretty heavy depth of field in the foreground. I think you can actually depth of field up this background a little bit too, and kind of play with that as well. Just play around with it, see what you like, and then if you can get a little bit more light wrap on top of his antenna there, that would be great too. But overall, yeah, Jonah, this is fun. It's a super, super fun project. All right, let's see, Barbara. Yeah, no, thanks so much. You guys are great. I appreciate you. I appreciate you posting. Appreciate you being here. All good things. Okay, so now we've got people who live in different, who aren't able to come through. So because I know that, and the reason why I record, or the reason why we record all of our lectures at the Academy of Animated Art and post them, is that we know that everyone's in different time zones. And so for some people right now, this is like 3 and 4 in the morning or super early in the day. So we don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of randomly go through until we land on one to critique. There we go. Okay. So this is Holly's. Holly. So you've been making really great progress on this. I like the variation. I like that we're seeing some more in the background here. The biggest one that I would really like to see you work on is just this under the mushroom there is getting, it's like too even, too flat, and there's just not enough variation in there. And we're seeing it up along here. And then this rim on top, I think you can take that away because it feels like it's coming from a light shining down as opposed to inside of it. I love these little bits of speck of light hitting here. I think those are working really well. I like that you got some light on this guy, but I think that you could probably bring down the overall brightness, soften up this curve here. That's looking a little bit contrasty. Yeah, but we're really getting to the point of just kind of dialing stuff in. If there's any way to get some more softening in this foreground, it's looking a little extra contrasty in there, and then a little bit of extra fill light on the back of this girl, because like I'm seeing some dark shapes on her hair, on the bunny, and all that good stuff. So yeah, like this is like the fact that like looking just in this area, like those super dark blades of grass versus these, like they shouldn't be that different. And same thing with some of these foreground elements. They should feel a little bit more uniform. But overall, like I said, this is really, really coming together. You've made so much progress on this. You should be really proud of yourself. All right, let's spin the wheel. Mr. Lopez, when you posted this, you had a new tag on our site, which was like founding member, which I thought was really cool because you've been with us probably, I think, since our very first lighting challenge, and it's just very cool to see you. So, I was already playing around with this. So my biggest thing with this is this kind of feels like a fish out of water story, where you have this sheep in, I guess, vulture land. And I would say that you can do, what I like to do in these types of situations is I like to do a little something extra to make the character feel just like the slightest touch out of this totally goes against all realism of lighting, but I like to give them a little bit of a different lighting scheme as everything else. So what I did was I played around with it and I just added just a little bit of warmth to this lamp. And you wouldn't necessarily notice it, but there's something about it now where he feels very different than everything else. He just feels like, he or she should not be there. What I would add to the lighting on this is a little bit more shaping in this trunk. Try and push some more light around there. And then maybe a little bit more here in the foreground, because this to this is all kind of feeling a little bit flat. So I mean, it doesn't need to be like super bright, but just a little bit more variation in there could really go a long way. And then and I don't know if you have control over this, but this refraction in this water, if you can just get like maybe add like a bump to it or something to add a little more variation in there. And then we've got these light beams coming in, these God rays, very cool. Maybe try layering them back behind this tree just a little bit more. Like it doesn't have to be totally behind it, but make it like 50% of what we're seeing further back. So just kind of peel it back on that just a little bit. And then I'm wondering if we can get these guys to read just a little bit more, maybe making that red saturation pop, or getting more light, like just cheating the light a little bit more on the front of them. But I think that this one is coming together nicely as well. So we'll close that one out. Spin the wheel. All right, Shiva. I like the value, value that we're seeing out of the background there. Very cool stuff. I think overall it's like we're missing some dark values. If I look at, man, I keep doing that. If I look at the image as a whole, you can see like if we kind of dial it in just a little bit more, like I like the haze that you're getting, but just like we wouldn't see that much in the foreground here. We want to get those darker values to kind of step it back into space. The other question that I'd have for you is whether or not we need this light on. I think that for the story that we're telling, I think that unless there's something important going on here on the table, I don't think we need it. I think it's just like an added bright spot that's distracting us from the scene as a whole. Additionally, if you were going to have that on, I would have this paper get a little brighter in there. But if it's up to you, I would, if it's all the same, I would just go ahead and tone that down. I would try and get this to be a little bit darker on top. It would be nice if we had like some light to dark variation coming in here, because if this light's coming this way and shining in, this one feels like it's coming in here and really glowing this up. So I would just kind of tone that down a little bit. And this face of this clock, just to get it to stand out a little bit more, I would brighten that up a little bit. That might be a refraction or a ray depth issue. So I would just check into that. But yeah, I think this is a great set, great scene. This globe is looking super dark too. I would lift that up a little bit. But yeah, I think overall this is looking really well. And then just watch out for a couple of these specular highlights, like there, up here. You just don't want like those like little like this here. You just kind of want them not to stand out too much. One more, bing bing. But yeah, I think you're shaping this up really well. I think everything's looking really great. All right, we're in the same room, so let's stick with Niha here. I think you can go darker in the shadows as well. Let's go ahead and take a look. Oh man, if I do that one more time, I swear. Okay, I think we can go a little bit darker in the shadows overall, and then we can brighten this up just a little bit. Then we can just go ahead and take down the saturation, because when you increase the contrast like that, you lose it just a little bit. So something like that to that, I think would help out a lot. You're getting good variation across this bench, going across, like getting this object in the bright light here is great. This spot on the rug is like, it feels weird in there. I'm not quite sure why, but maybe it's just a matter of saturating up the plane a little bit more to get it to kind of stand out. Let's see what else. Yeah, I think this one's looking pretty good overall. You're getting really nice variation along the ground there. Yeah, I think this one's shaping up pretty good. If there's only maybe just like a little bit more cool, like maybe play up the cool warm a little bit more on that as well. But yeah, you're in a good spot. Hishek. So biggest thing on this one is this lampshade. It's too transparent. It needs to feel like there's a light bulb back here glowing it up. You definitely wouldn't see this element there. You'd see, it would just be like a bright spot. So just check out some reference there. And then I'm not like, I want to feel a little bit more of that light on the ground and kind of fading off as we go along this way. It does look like there's some, like there's a light source that's causing a shadow here. Maybe it's coming across from off the screen, right? I would just really isolate it to this one, and then allow kind of these areas to go a little bit darker around the edges, and really just use this light to kind of cozy us up into this scene. The other thing that I would add would be this seat itself is looking, I think the specular highlights on it are a little too perfect and a little too broad. I would just kind of narrow those in a little bit. And I think overall the saturation on the image could come down just a touch. Like looking at the bright, let's do them individually, like looking at the bright reds on the carpet, I feel like that can come down just a little bit. And then looking at the greens in the background, it's probably more yellows. Yeah. Just allow that painting to kind of fall back into space. It doesn't really need to pop out too much. So again, just kind of toning that stuff back. And then I would add, like the lamp is a little bit too pure white of a light. I would add some warmth to that light color as well. Okay, let me take a drink, check in on any notes. All right. Some tips. Yeah, no problem, Jonah. My pleasure. All right. We've got 4 left. We'll stick with Abhishek, so in case he's checking through this, he can see these. Okay, so I was looking at this one, and somebody made a comment about this, and I totally agree with. It looks like, you know, usually when you have a train, like the iconic thing is the smoke kind of goes up and then wraps back that way to show like speed and the train kind of powering through. This feels like it's more like something static is on fire. So I would watch out for that, and then I would really kind of dial in these lamps and these shapes of these spotlights. And I pulled in some reference. And one of the things, it's kind of low res, sorry about that. But one of the things that you really see, and I see this so often because it's just like, of course you would do this, is that when you're creating a light like this, your natural instinct is just to be like, okay, cone light, add some volumetric, done. But really when you look at the reference, what you see is a stronger interior and then like like a softer fall off on the outside. So what you would want is, it's almost like two cone lights. So there's like one kind of right here in the middle. Those are two parallel, but that's a little bit brighter. And then a second one that's kind of outside of it. That's a little bit softer. So it's a brighter core, softer fall off. And I would go with that. I like that you're getting some more spill onto this. I think that's working out well. Same deal with these headlights. I want to see, it's too kind of like overall glow. I want to kind of see the light bulb in the middle. And same deal with this one. It's kind of like the light is on top of the light source. And I really kind of want to see, maybe like, because if you think of like a headlight, the way the headlights work is there's a piece of plexiglass that's smooth on the outside and got like a weird pattern on the inside. Then there's a light bulb behind that shines backwards and refracts out. Maybe on old trains, it's just a spotlight that shines out. You should check reference on that. But I kind of want to feel that it's behind that glass as opposed to here where, again, it kind of just feels like it's on top of it. I think that we can darken some of the areas over on the screen left side. Like I think we can kind of darken all this stuff over here and just allow us to focus in here. I think that this spill light is nice. It might be a little bit strong. I would keep it closer to the train itself. And yeah, I would start with that. And I think that's a good place to get you rolling for the next one. Rolling like a train. Okay, let's go with Shisha's next. So really, like first, my first look at this one is I thought this one was really cool. I think this was looking really well. Just because a lot of variation, a lot of light to dark fall off, a lot of shaping. But this one, once you kind of start to dig into it, I'm starting to see a few issues. Not only because I'm a guy that's lit multiple Ice Age movies and you've got a mammoth head on the wall, but the biggest part is that I feel like I'm not 100% sold that the candles in this room are the things that are doing the lighting. Mostly because I feel like it's pretty overly lit. And I think that we can isolate the fall off of the candles into tighter pockets. Like the fact that like we're getting this much ambient kind of light around the edges. I want to see a little bit more fall off of the light because this is a tiny window on the other side of the room. By the time we get over here, we would see almost no influence on it. And then these lights of the candles are feeling very neutral. And I think you can afford to warm those up a little bit. And I think that we can just overall, let's try this. I think we can, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we can take away some of the blue values. Let's see if magenta helps. A little bit of red. Like I think we can warm it up overall and really kind of feel that. Cause like all of these interior stuff is being lit by warmer light, and then the outside we can we can push that a little bit cooler then, and that way we can really kind of play up. Oh dang, I shouldn't have done that. We can really kind of play up the warm versus cool of the inside versus the outside. But that would be pretty much it, because I think that the setting is really good. I love the idea of this room. The other thing too is that I think that, you know, by darkening some of these candlelight influence on the surroundings, I think we can really push in that the middle of this room is our focal point, right? Like the stuff kind of existing in this space. And then, because like some of this will get a little bit darker and some of it back behind might get a little darker too, because right now it's just kind of like we're looking all over the place, and that'll really help center us in. But overall, you're like I said, little ticky-tack notes. Habib, this is a very fun little project. I love the macro feel of it. You know, you hear me talk about all the time, dialing in the depth of field value to make it feel like the right scale. This is great because it feels like a teeny tiny little house. Definitely fits into the idea of like isolation and staying home and staying safe and all that stuff. Really, really good stuff. I think that we can go different I think we can push the differences on the times of day. I love where like the times of day or the seasons or the three different looks. Mostly it's, I think that this one can go darker overall and really allow this light to steal the stage a little bit. I would say keep this one where it is, and then this one I would push to be much more sunsetty. And feel free, you can even moderately change the color of the light too if you want. But I think you're not different enough. I think that like this one on the right, I didn't mock these up ahead of time, so this could be a disaster. But I think this one on the right, you can push in some more like, you know, really kind of sunsetty. Let's see, some more sunsetty tones, some more magentas. This one on this side, I think that you can, let's take the exposure down a little bit. And then bring up those brights back into it. And maybe something more along there, just to get like, to make them feel like they're totally different as opposed to like that, which is a little bit more normal. I think that would be my tip on that, just to have some more fun with it. But great project, really cool stuff overall. All right, last but not least, Dipendra. And if I'm missing anyone, please scream at me or post it later if you're not seeing it, and I'll gladly take a look at it. So biggest thing overall is we can push the brights a little more. Really kind of feel like there's sunlight coming in there. As light is entering a room and it's passing through a window, you're going to diffuse the shadows a little bit more. They're going to be a little bit softer than that. Because again, even in nature, they're not going to, you know, even when it's like pure sunlight hitting the ground, there's going to be a little bit of diffusion, but passing through the pane glasses of windows would really kind of change that up. We need to figure out, because there's two ways that you can really light characters in interior spaces on a sunny day. One is they're either getting hit by the main key light, or two is the ground is getting hit getting hit pretty brightly, and then light is bouncing up underneath them. That brings me to another point that I think the ground can get a lot brighter. I like the way that these values are getting hit in the side, but on the ground it looks very, very, very even. Like it doesn't look like it's getting very bright, and I think we can push that a little bit more. His legs feel a little glowy, especially in comparison to some of the other ones. Especially this one feels like it's got a little bit of a gummy element to it. And then I'd see what you're trying to do, like hero versus villain kind of stuff, where you've got maybe the light hitting these characters. I would just soften it a little bit on them, and then allow, if that's the case and you like these guys are the villains, go ahead and allow them to go a little bit darker, like get into more darkness. And then watch out for this foreground chair. It's just kind of bright and standing out. And also there's a weird edge here. It's a little bit crispy around the edge, even though the interior of it feels very blurred. Same thing with this one. It feels like there's depth of focus internally, but around the edge, I'm not seeing that there. So just check that out. And then, yeah, I think that'll get you pretty far on your way. Yeah, so if you have any questions at all, just let me know. Same goes for everybody else. If you guys have any questions about what I mentioned or anything you'd like me to elaborate on, or if you have things you want me to talk about on Monday in Let's Light, post them up. Can't wait to see them. Very excited for the progress that everybody's making. Very excited for the lighting challenge. All good stuff going on, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next. So one last check-in to see if there is any other, may have missed some comments. I can't, you guys can't see my screen anymore. Let's see, let me just double check that and make sure that I'm not missing anything, and I will keep talking. All right, cool. Yeah, stay on here for just 1 second. All right, I think that's everything. If anybody needs anything else, again, please let me know, and I'll work on getting those to you guys for now. But thank you all very much. You all have a good night. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay home as was stated in the image, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next. So happy lighting, everybody.